times that never end. Welcome to Popcorn and Friends.
Welcome again to another episode of Popcorn and Friends. I hope you've been having a lovely week. The weather in Melbourne has been amazing. I think it's going to change. But look, we've got a special guest here today. Lovely Sean Dobra.
Thank you for having me, Travis. It's great to be on your show finally.
You're welcome, man. It's about
Such
time.
a great show. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Since the beginning, actually.
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because this is actually our first episode. So...
I was honest.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay.
I'll be watching.
Okay. All right. Well, you have some exciting news, right? You have a documentary getting screened in a festival.
Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. Yep. Opening night.
Oh, that's exciting. What's your documentary called?
The documentary called From Depression with Love.
Oh, okay. I've seen bits of it, of the original draft. I haven't seen the final copy. I will be there to watch it, so I'm very excited. Do you want to
make a note? You're actually in it.
Thank you. Okay, all right. My royalties will be in the mail, right? Okay. So tell us a bit about your documentary, Sean.
Well, the documentary started when I fresh out of university. I had a massive breakdown with depression. I dealt with depression quietly on and off for years. Never really said anything about it, kept it to myself, but the burden was getting bigger and bigger to the point of explosion, I could say, of negativity on others, people around me, and obviously within myself, to the point where I didn't want to breathe anymore. Didn't want to be here anymore. And at that point of the lowest point, something shifted in my thinking, in my brain, and I had a transformation in the way I saw life. And instantly, the depression was resolved. Like, it doesn't mean life was amazing straight after, but something shifted so that life started to occur differently, and it just changed my path. And I wanted others to have the same experience, which is the initial reason why I wanted to make a documentary on the subject. But then what kind of hit harder was I saw a problem within the pharmaceutical company that they were giving out more and more pharmaceuticals, but yet depression seemed to be expanding in society. So it didn't seem to be solving the main problem. It seemed to be more like a Band-Aid quick fix approach. And I wanted to uncover the issue with pharmaceuticals, because even though it does help a lot of people, it certainly has a lot of issues and caused a lot of problems for many people too.
Wow, that's really cool, man. That's a bit of seems like you've got a bit of an experience in what you're talking about. You've experienced it firsthand, and you're sharing your experience. And it sounds like you've got a bit of a passion of helping others through that journey.
Yeah, I've always had a passion of helping others. I hate to see people suffering, and I really like people to be empowered. And so the documentary has much wisdom of how we can shift our approach to life to become more empowered, so that depression actually becomes something that is like a gym. It strengthens our spiritual nature so that when hard times come, we actually have the ability to deal with that because we've gone through this process of depression.
Okay. So, look, I've known you for a while, and I've been sort of with you along the journey of the filming and a lot of your documentaries and that. So, do you want to tell us a bit about the journey and what's been involved in part of making this film?
Well, it's been such a long journey. First of all, this film started off as a short film. So, out of university, I didn't have the budget. I just had my own money. I had a friend who was fresh out of university, and I enrolled him. And so me and Alex, who's the main cinematographer in the film, I also do a lot of the cinematography, but he's the main cinematographer. We started off on this journey of interviewing doctors and psychologists and life coaches and people. And we did make like a really cool 4-minute version of the film. And, I never actually properly released that version because I realized that 4 minutes to really help someone around this topic, it might offer a couple of glimpses of insight, but really it was more like a motivational video with a bit of comedy in there too. And I thought with this topic, what the speaker said, there's so much more wisdom in there. And if I can get it in an entertaining way to people, it could make such a big difference in life that I couldn't stop with short film. So I kept going, and it just kept evolving to a longer documentary, and then a longer documentary, and then eventually to a docudrama. Yeah. Which is what the final version is now, almost 10 years later from when we originally first started.
That's what I find quite interesting about this documentary. From what I've seen, I love what you've done with, going to talk to professionals, but also people that have actually, gone through the struggles and the journey of depression and anxiety, mental health issues. So I guess, it's very interesting to take. Is there any backstory of how you've gone into, I guess, doing the documentary with stories and then telling a story along with it?
Yes. So, like I said, the point of it was just going to be an educational documentary, basically a transformational film, so that someone with depression could quickly go through an hour film or an hour and 20-minute film, and they could just get information that would make a big difference to their life. And I got the cut down to about 45 minutes in the editing studio when I did the first initial editing myself. Christian Filippani is the main editor because he finished the project and made it so much better than what I had it at.
Yep.
But I did the first draft of the edit. And when I watched back that 45 minutes film, and you actually got to see that original film as well, it was quite obvious that it was hard to sit through. And it was hard to sit through because especially if you're someone with depression, I would imagine, because it's a lot of information condensed into this 45 minutes of just talking heads. And some analytical people can sit through that and just absorb the information, but a lot of people will just tune out.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'd made a docudrama in the past. I was working on another docudrama on bone therapy at the time. And I thought, man, that film had a great story that could weave into the story of bone therapy. So it was educational on what bone therapy is and how it helps people, but also had a beautiful love story there. But I didn't have a story of depression for this. I mean, I had my own story, but I didn't even think to share my own personal story within it. It would have been too hard to capture, and it didn't really have the insight. So I wanted to have a drama in this, and I could not think of anything. And one day I'm sitting in the spa in Mullumbimby, and I'm just relaxing. And as I'm relaxing, I'm just thinking, it would be great to have it. It would be great to have a short film. Boom, this idea came into my head. And the idea was really the end of the film. And when I saw it, I just realized how amazing this story fits in and powerfully, through a story, shares the deep insight of what most of these speakers are saying, but through a narrative. And so it's a very good story, has a very good ending, and I'm really pleased. I was very pleased. It's almost like the universe gave me something that could fit perfectly within the movie, and it does. And it was a challenge. It was a challenge fitting it in between the interviews, but as you would have seen in a later draft, it works exceptionally well at breaking up the interviews. I
really love the creativity you're adding to this because, like you said, it is quite a sensitive topic, and especially when you're listening to it. I think, from what I've seen, I love hearing people's stories that have been through similar struggles, not exact same situations everyone goes through, but look, from my personal experience, is, sometimes when you go through depression, you feel like you're the only one, or, you're going through it yourself. And I think the biggest hurdle for someone to go through is just to open up and actually just know that you're not alone, and just have the ability to have the courage of actually sharing, what's going on in your mental head, your mental space, having that opportunity. I think by you sharing that, and your creativity of adding a story in there, it potentially could hit a larger market and allow people to share their stories and just get that heavy burden off them. I really like what you're doing with that. It's really cool.
It's really interesting that you're interviewing me in your podcast, Popcorn and Friends, which is amazing. Amazing idea, by the way.
I just made it up, literally.
And I like it.
A minute ago.
I like it. We just need some popcorn here.
Exactly.
Maybe we can eat popcorn
and
while doing
friends,
it.
Right?
Yeah, that too. Some real friends. But no, I did. How long would you say it was ago that I interviewed you for this documentary? Because you were one of the initial interviews. Because I went first of all to people that I knew that had insight on this, and at that time you had gone through quite a lot, especially at that time, where you had a lot to share on this topic. So, and you've come a long way from then. Yeah,
look, to be honest, I think when we talked, look, I had real, my personal sort of backstory. I had, struggled with depression in my early 20s, and then, went years with it to the point where I never thought I'd get better. Then I started doing self-development, and, sort of changing my mind, headspace. And yeah, I guess when we did the filming, that would have been probably 4 or 5 years ago, give or take. The original interviews that I can recall. But like you said, it has been a journey from the original idea of just having a short sort of, I think it was like an assignment or something you were just working on, just a little practice on it, type of thing, to where you're at now. We got a full blown, feature length documentary now, where it's sort of grown to what it is now. It was, like you said, started off a little side project into a full blown, feature film.
Yeah, and having been in the pit of depression yourself in early stages of life, how do you think in one of those moments when you're a bit more open, how do you think this documentary would land for you now? Like looking back then, how do you think it would have landed for you back then? Do you think it would have been helpful? Do you think it would have been helpful on some level?
Yeah, I look, from what I've seen, I think the best thing is just hearing other people's stories, man. Yeah. I think because when you see other people have courage to share their story, you go, wow, man. And you see, look, it's, they've gone through their stuff and that, and it's actually, you realize it's not that hard to share. It takes a lot of courage to be able to make yourself feel vulnerable and to take that, step, especially for men and also for women, but especially men. Men have this whole thing about, I need to be tough and I got to not show my vulnerability with people. And with this film, to be honest with you, my biggest personal breakthrough was sharing with one of my old bosses that I was struggling with anxiety. I would go to work and I'd be full anxious all the time, and I'd say awkward things because my heart rate is going nuts. My movement would be different, and my biggest issue that caused the anxiety was like, what do people think of me when I'm doing this stuff? And eventually, I built up the courage. This was a big moment in my life where I just shared with my manager, my boss. I was going, hey, look, I've actually got some anxiety in that. Once I shared that, he was like, oh yeah, I get it. And he shared about his own personal experience in that. And then it just shifted. Like he was more understanding. And it was probably, to be honest with you, it was probably my reflection of what I thought of him. Like I thought that he would be judging me and that. And the truth is, when I shared with him, he probably wasn't judging me at all, but it just made me feel comfortable knowing that he understood me, and that made me feel a bit more comfortable into the realization he's not judging me, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
So, and also just to just getting outside from in here and shared into experience with someone else, it builds a sense of connection between you and that person, and also it allows you to get the core of it out of yourself and in out here, so it can be observed differently and from a different perspective, like him looking at it as well.
I 100%. One thing I love is that it's funny that we always say mental health, right? And mental health is not something you can see, so to say, right? It's in your head. And I think personally is that when you're struggling with stuff, it's all in here, and it's this huge burden monster or whatever it might be, you're carrying on your shoulders. And then once you get it out of there and communicate it and say to people, you realize it's not as big as an issue, or you start to, you start to work on it straight away, and that big problem starts to diminish into a smaller thing, to a more manageable thing, to a point where it's just sort of like, water off duck's back, and you sort of move forward with it. And if anything, the struggles you're going through, you start to use that as something, as a, something that makes you a personal growth. It starts becoming a big burden that stops you in your tracks to go, no, you know what? It's not a burden. I'm actually going to grow from this. Yeah. And actually become a better person and help anyone else that may go into a similar situation.
And I think this is the big message and the power of the film. It like what you just said there is spot on. And the film really shows you that through the whole process, that actually at some point in time, depression seems like it's like the worst thing in the world. And it's like, I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But slowly, as you keep moving forward, as you say, and you keep moving forward, you think in your head it's going to last forever, but you start to realize from messages like this that it's not, it's a process. And as you keep moving forward and you kind of get to the other side, what once was your biggest burden actually empowers you, because going through that process, you had to learn a lot about life, about thinking, about dealing with people, about dealing with your own emotions, dealing with your own thoughts, dealing with life, that you get to the other side and you develop all these qualities that are opposite to all the negative qualities. And for me, depression is a process of building that character. And sometimes like building a diamond or making a diamond, it takes hot coals, going through a cocoon process, which my book is called The Cocoon.
Yeah, your book.
A cocoon is dark. It's like you can't see. You're stuck in there.
I can imagine being quite uncomfortable.
Horrible, very uncomfortable. Yeah. You're stuck, which is kind of the feeling of depression when you're in it. But there is we know there's a process taking place, and on the other side of that process, you got wings.
Yeah.
This is the caterpillar. What is it for a human? It's a different kind of wings.
Yeah. So it's almost like a stage in your journey, not your destination. It's a process of where you're going to a better with life. And I can relate to that because my biggest issue when I had depression for 8 years, give or take, where there's a point where I just gave up in hope that I would ever change or it would get better. I felt like that. When you punish a dog so often, it's going to stop doing that. And my thing is that you keep punishing me trying to be happy or, try to achieve what goals I wanted to have, that I'm just going, it ain't going to happen anymore. And I learned that that's so far from the truth that you got to be willing to surprise yourself that you're going to get better. You think, oh, I'm never going to be the same, or I'm never going to be what I want to be, or whatever, whatever. And you go, you know what? Not only am I potentially going to get that, I might get it tenfold, which in my experience, I've seen people do that with myself and others. So tell us a bit about your book that's coming out.
Oh, the book. I am so excited about the book because the film is a great kind of starting point to it really unclicks this growth mindset. And if we are not growing, we are dying. So we're all growing in life, whether we choose to consciously grow or we grow through things like depression. Either way, we're going to grow. Yeah. And so the book just takes growing and the ideas to transform depression to a whole nother level. The book is a poetic journey. It's not like poetry. It's very got some very logical ideas and things as well. But I call it a poetic journey. Reading the book itself is, to me, a form of therapy because the way the words are written, like depression is so many facets. But I mean, a big part of it comes down to obviously the way that we think and the thoughts that we think negatively about ourselves, about the world, about, just the chaos, the stuckness. It's all thoughts. And the book starts to undo some of the deep, deep spells that we've unconsciously picked up. And one of the big ones, like most people have at some level, pretty much everyone has at some level, but on people with depression, it's very high, even if they don't admit it, is this deep sense of unworthiness. I'm not good enough. Yeah. And that is just a mind spell. It's a complete lie. But because it's been picked up at such a young age, it's kind of like, it's easy to say to someone, no, you are worthy. But for that to actually click and transform inside their mind. So when I shared before about I had my experience that changed everything, I think I wasn't aware of it at the time, but I think there was a change in my body of like, I'm feeling depressed. I'm worthy of more than this. I'm actually worthy of happiness and joy. And because I felt that inside, because of something that happened to me, that automatically shifted my thinking to open up to new ideas of positive ways of thinking, of joyful thoughts, of happy thoughts. And I think a lot of people think, positive thinking, that stuff doesn't work. Because if positive thinking is under a deeper layer of I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy, it's kind of just fluff on the top of that. But when you shift that deep lie and you realize, hey, you are worthy, which you are, I am. Yeah. And the more we know that, the more our thinking automatically shifts.
I love that. I totally agree. I think, our brains, our thoughts, a vision of ourselves or whatever is, you can either be a good voice, a positive voice, or it can be negative and then just like go to a spiral of just become, you go to that negative thought and then it just starts going spiraling and then everything becomes negative. And if you change that perspective, which does take time or, it does take a bit of patience and you need to work on it. Sometimes if you're really in that rut, it sounds like, you can see the world in a different light. So exciting. You got your documentary coming out. That's exciting. When's that coming out again?
It's the 7th of July, 6:45 p.m. This is the premiere. So it has never had a live screening in a cinema with the public open to the public before. So this is the first time people are coming together. There'll be 100 people watching it together. It's basically 80%, more than 80% sold out already.
Yeah. And
so
you've already won awards for this film, right?
We have won awards, yeah. So we sent it into festivals in the US. They didn't screen it publicly, but they take the film into their festival with other films, and then they have judges that decide whether this is it. And so it won in the Nonviolent Global Film Festival. It won like 3 awards.
Jeez.
Yeah, award for acting, award for actually it won 4 awards, cinematography.
Oh wow.
And directing as well. So 3 or 4. Yeah.
I'm guessing you did all of them.
No, the editor and the color grader was Christian Filippani, who
Shout out.
amazing.
Shout out to him.
Shout out, yeah. Thanks, Christian, for all your hard work and all your psychological help as well. I think there's a lot of transformation in the editing room, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of transformation.
Yeah.
And then Alexander Ennis, who cinematographer.
Yeah.
I went to university with. He was the person who I initially, when I mentioned I started the project with a friend from university, he started the project with me.
Yes.
And then years later, he obviously didn't help throughout the whole middle process because he had other things, life going on.
Yeah.
But he happened to be free and available at the time when we were shooting the next part, which was the drama part. So he was the cinematography on the drama. To you on that one. See your reaction.
Okay, that's really cool. That the part of the journey. It sounds like you made. The whole part of it has been personal growth. Relationships and all that type of stuff. And like everything, when you're living a powerful life or busy life, that's part of it. You can have your ups and downs. Okay, so you got your film coming out. The book. Do you know roughly how's that going? Is that going to be ready for
the
people?
book is finished. It's being sent to publishers as we speak, and cool. But it may also be self-published very soon, so it will be available. To be honest, it's been a bit of a recent regret. I wouldn't say regret. I don't like to regret anything in life, but when you hear about people going through real, close to you as well, going through real struggles and real pain, and knowing that there is this is an epidemic for so many people that you wouldn't even know. It's just under the surface of this disconnection from life, and I just I'm aware of the power of film and the power of books, and I just want both of them to make the biggest difference to people.
Yeah, I love that, man. Okay. What's a message you'd like to give to the viewers of your film? What's something that you would like them to take away
from the film after watching it?
Yeah, is there anything you'd like them to see?
The biggest message that I hope that they get from watching the film is empowerment. That actually it's up, they have the power within them. There's a saying, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. There's some great ideas there. And my hope is that people will take those ideas and run with them and try them and test them and be open to possibility. Because if you do, you can speed up your own transformational process. You can get out of this bubble of depression much quicker. But to be honest, the main message I'll say, it doesn't really matter if you do or you don't, because as long as you keep moving forward, it's not permanent. It's going to come to an end. There is light out the other end of the tunnel. And as long as you keep persevering and you have the intention to find that light, it's going to happen. So there's really nothing to worry about. It's just more about accepting yourself for who you are, for what you're going through, the fact that you're in this situation. And you talked before about sharing with others. It's a great point. And I think some people don't want to share it with others because they feel like that they don't want to spread negativity, or they don't, they don't want to hurt others. And to be honest, sharing your pains and your suffering does not hurt others. I mean, it actually gives others the opportunity to give you perspective, which causes them growth. So the whole process is actually beautiful from the outside perspective, and there's nothing wrong with you for going through the process. In fact, it's part of your journey, it's part of your life, and just accept yourself and love yourself wherever you are, and know it's all going to be okay if you just keep moving forward.
I really like what you said there, because I think it's very important as well, is like self-love. I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with, especially when they start going through depression, is that they don't value themselves.
And I think the other thing as well, like really important, what you're saying is this comparison to like comparing yourself to others, and especially if you're doing that through social media.
Oh, yeah.
Like, put it this way, like most people, not everybody, but most people are going to share the best side of themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like even now, into this interview, you know, I've put on a nice shirt. I've tried to make sure I don't have anything.
Mate, there's a lot of makeup on his face, I'm telling you.
And people just assume, oh, okay, this person's doing things, he's got it all together or whatever. Maybe they don't know. But
that's true. Yeah,
and the truth is, like, I don't have it all together.
Yeah.
I mean, I in some senses I do, but I got my problems. I wake up some mornings in a cloud of thoughts, still with all that I've learned and all that I've gone through. I'm not gonna probably express that side of this on camera right here and right now, but it's all there. And people in social media, we often see the light and we don't see the dark. We see the success, but we don't see the journey. And everybody's still on a journey. Even the people who look like they're completely successful, they've got their own challenges, they've got their own hardships, they've got their own problems. And I want people to realize this, like whoever's listening now, is I have a huge, huge respect for people who are going through this process. Yeah. But my biggest respect comes to those that just keep pushing through. It's like they just, like, you feel depressed, but you get out of bed in the morning and you put your shoes on and you get out the door. And I'm just like, man, I'm just like, you don't realize, but if I was watching your movie, I'd be clapping my hands going, cheering you on. It's like, who cares? You did it. You're moving. You got out of your room. It's like fantastic. You went and showed up at that sports game, even though you didn't want to go. You decided to go out and be social, even though you didn't feel comfortable. It's like, man, like that's the process. And it doesn't matter if you're winning up here or you're doing it here. It's the same game.
Love it. I 100%, because going through it yourself and myself, I look at people similar to you. Like if anyone's struggling with depression and that, and then it's like, mate, I say, okay, mate, you're a warrior, dude. I don't think of it like, you know what I mean? Like,
you are a modern day fucking warrior, because we're not battling gladiators anymore. We're battling the biggest gladiator.
But like what you said before is that, if you're going, look, if it's a struggle for you going down to the shops just to get, lunch or, get some food or whatever, groceries, and you still do it, mate, you're doing a lot of like people that can't do any of that. People struggle like to face their fears. And it seems like people that have depression and anxiety, they're facing their fears on a regular basis. And that is building character. You know what I mean? Like,
and there may be some people watching this thinking, well, I did stop this morning. I didn't go to the gym or I didn't go and do something because I was afraid. And they might beat themselves up about that. And I say, look, there are many things today that I could have done to progress my life that I didn't do because of fear and because of worry and because of doubt. That happens to me every day. I get stopped somewhere. It's the shift is focus on what you did do. You did get out of bed. You did brush your teeth, maybe you didn't, but if you didn't brush your teeth.
If you're sleeping in bed watching this,
go brush your teeth.
Don't feel bad.
And
right?
celebrate the fact that you brushed your teeth. You made something a little bit better, and focus on that and reward yourself for that. Like that's the game. That's the breakthrough. That's a challenge. And we skip the acknowledgement of ourselves for all the little things that we do. And everybody's doing something, right? Everybody's trying their best. Everybody's moving forward.
And one thing I actually noticed as well, man, because I've seen this in a lot of, times have changed in the last probably 10 years. People are talking about mental health a lot more, right? People are sharing all that type of stuff, and it went from the stigma of going, be a man, mate, toughen up, and you used to see when someone would share stuff, I felt like people would belittle them, like, oh, you're weak or whatever, you call them whatever. But now on social media, whenever I see people like, I'm part of a group called Blokes Advice, which I think is really cool, because you see people sharing very vulnerable stuff, what they're going through, some of the worst, the stuff they probably don't share with their closest friends, but they share it with strangers online. And just reading the comments, man, of just the support. And when someone's going through their own struggles, they go, mate, they're cheering you on. You know what I mean? They got your back. Yeah. They may not show it the way you want to see it all the time, or because they don't know what's going on. But if they knew, just be proud of yourself that you're doing it for yourself and you're getting through it. As much as you hate yourself for feeling that way or whatever it is, just be glad that you're moving forward with it. And Yeah.
It's so like what you're saying is so accurate. I think Tony Robbins shares this story. Like you go to an orchestra, right? Like, and you see this magnificent orchestra, and then all of a sudden someone shouts out "boo!" All right, and then there's a security, and they grab him and they take him out, and that process probably lasts 10 seconds, and but then the rest of the 2 hours orchestra is great, but people go home and they're like, "How was the orchestra?" They're like, "Oh, it was great, but there was this one guy," and then they go on the story and start focusing on this one 10-second moment. And this is kind of how depression actually unfolds. It's this hyper focus on what's wrong rather than looking at the whole picture of your life and looking at all the things that are right. And in most people's lives, if you actually stop and look at it from a movie perspective, there's a lot of good and a lot of times that they won and a lot of things that they conquered, and a lot of things good about their life. But you can literally focus on that one boo. Because you were mentioning the comments, and I was thinking, yeah, there's probably like 50 positive comments, but there might be one negative comment. And if you focus on that, that becomes your reality.
It's just another interesting topic that what you just sort of alluded to is that you look at the Western world has a lot more depression than third world countries, from my understanding, right?
It does.
And I just sort of think
in general basis.
People that have literally nothing, that are literally living on the streets, they've got nothing, like in India and all that type of stuff, people are begging and all that. They might be generally more happier than someone that's driving around, all the materialistic things you may want, money, everything, and they might be caught up with all this negativity in their brains. And it's just like a state of mind, being grateful for what you have, being grateful for what the day brings. And it's just being in the moment. You're stressing about what happened in the past, and then you're getting anxiety thinking about the future, and you're not living in the now. And it's like, once you start to go, hey, look, stop worrying about the future, and so, think about it and work towards it, but don't let it strike you down and stop you in your tracks.
If you think about it, all of our problems and challenges, they really always exist in the future or the past. Like in the present, there's just what's happening to deal with, and that's it. Yeah. And there is a certain amount of peace in the present if you can bring yourself to the present, and that's part of the game. And it's really interesting how you say, we're in this Western world where we got a lot more freedoms, right? Yeah. And that's why I say we like you said, we are gladiators. In terms of this, like in the past, there's been so much need to survive that there really hasn't been this essential free time to really go into the depths of the mind. And now we live in a world where there's more free time, there's more information, there's so much more, that it's like we're expanding our consciousness. And because we haven't worked out how to use this thing in that space. And that's where the monster of the mind, that's what we're battling with, and it's something that when you're in survival mode, you don't really have to take care of, because you just have to take care of the physical survival. You don't have to fight the mental game. And now that you've got this time where we're in this battle, which, where we are winning of the mind, of consciousness, of spirit. And that's what this space has allowed. And that's why I feel like people don't realize that they're actually, what they're going through, they're actually championing the human spirit as they go through that process. Okay. It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it is. Look, and it all comes down to, when you look at the struggles you go through, right, you sort of think of it as this big burden, and it's all on you, and life is miserable, and it sucks, and it 100% it does have a toll on you, right? But when you share with people, right, and you have these discussions, you do get a different perspective of what like what we just shared before about us going through similar experiences, and then you shared something that was like, oh yeah, I've never thought of it like that, and that's made me change my perspective. So you start to, if you're going through stuff, you have an opportunity to share your experience, which might be something worth more than gold. To someone else, you know what I mean? And that has value, man. You can, like, look, when I used to volunteer at the soup kitchen and used to just talk to people, one thing I used to do, I see people going through some of the toughest situations in their life. Like they're living on the streets, they they may have nothing to their name, and they got all these issues, health issues, mental issues, whatever it is, man, whatever. And one thing I would do is just start talking, just not talking about how's all the issues and all that type of stuff. Just go, hey man, how'd you, have you heard this? Did you watch this, or did you hear about that? And just start talking about just general things. And it's funny because when you start talking about take them out of the worries of what their stress is going through, and actually connect them to what's now, and actually, I like to think I'm pretty funny sometimes. I can say a joke with them and make them laugh. And it's just, you see a change in their eye. You see that little sparkle come back, and they start to not worry about things going on, which they may or may not control. They start just living now, and they start to just, and then also as well, when I start talking to them, especially kids, they have this sort of guard up. And then once you start talking to them and actually getting into the world, what they're interested in, and sort of appreciating them for who they are. Like if say a kid loves video games or something like that, and you talk to them about it, and they might be a bit nervous, maybe you're talking about their life video games, so they make, I might be a nerd or something like that. And you go, oh yeah, I play video games too, man. What are you playing? And I love that game or whatever, And then you just see them going, oh, I get valued. Oh, I'm actually, I don't have to be scared of who I am. I don't have to worry about how people are going to look at me, because you have that opportunity to let people be themselves. And I think when people have depression, they they overcome it, or even when they have depression, they allow people to be themselves, because they understand what it's like. They understand that, look, life has its moments. Life's not always easy. It has its ups and downs. And like we said, when we see someone else power through their struggles, we cheer them on. And I think when people genuinely be themselves, that's when they have value, man. That's when they can be themselves, and they can contribute a lot to the world.
Yeah.
So,
well, that space, and if you can create that space for someone like you're doing, it's very healing. And there's a book called Lost Connections, which is basically sums up that one of the biggest causes of depression is just a feeling of disconnection. And it talks about disconnection from people. Ultimately, I see it more as a disconnection from life in general, which includes people, like a disconnect from your life. And that is like really healing, and having people connected is really healing. And it also opens them up to learning. Like, for instance, if I start to get curious about, okay, you look pretty happy. What is it that makes you happy? And that learning and that curiosity is really what's going to make the fundamental difference. Because when you realize that, hey, this person actually has a way of thinking that makes them happy. And if I start to get curious about it, or just start to connect with that person more, I can start to get some of those skills. And fundamentally, if we break down depression to what it is at the core, right? Like, depression is happening in here. There's something going on in the process of our thinking, and whether that's automatic or not, it's still happening in the thinking. And we're seeing things as a threat. We're seeing things as problems. We're seeing dangers. And Sadhguru says basically depression comes down to one thing and one thing only. Your own intelligence, meaning your own mind, is working against you. Because nobody wants to feel depressed, right? And if it's happening as a result of their mind, it's kind of like, he puts it like this, and it is a bit like this. Like, imagine a person with a physical disability, and they're going like this, and they can't control their hand. It's just happening automatically. So what's happened there? Their own physical body is working against them. And this is what it's like when you have depression. It's like your own intelligence is working against you. So to me, the ultimate cure, like, connection is so beautiful, and it kind of helps calm that process, so you stop slapping yourself, especially in the moment, and it may even fix the issue automatically, just that love and that connection. But ultimately, to become empowered, we need to start learning about this, and we need to start learning about life, and get curious about, how can I actually create a life that I love? And the more curious we get about that, the more we're open to new ideas, the more we're open to learning, and the more we're open to learning, the more the more you learn and the more you practice, the better you get at anything. And ultimately, for me, this whole process of depression that's why I say it's a process of learning how to open those wings so you can fly. And if you're not actively learning, because if you're not actually taking the time to actively learn, you'll still learn, but life will cause it to happen through a process like depression. It'll cause you so much pain that eventually you'll get to some point where you're like, I need help. I'm just got to talk to somebody. And finally you open up, and then that somebody talks back to you, and your perspective changes, your thinking changes. You start to upgrade, you start to automatically upgrade your intelligence, or not your intelligence, but the use of your intelligence. What do you think about that?
Look, yeah, I think it's actually kind of interesting because when you were talking about that, I just had to think in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, it's interesting because you can't if you go look, show me depression. You can't if I show you like a broken arm or something physically, you can show it, right?
Yeah.
You go, hey, look, this is a broken arm.
That is, that's very
depression. You can't necessarily really see it. Like it's something like you said.
You can only see the outer symptoms of it.
Yeah, you see the symptoms of it. You don't actually see what it is, right? And like you said before, is that it does come down to, and I think that's where the real trick is, right? The real trick is, it's all easy to say all this stuff. We can say this till the cows home. Think positive, surround yourself, share, all this type of stuff. But the truth is like, how do we actually get people to change and actually do that?
Yeah.
Not just say it. Everyone knows how to lose weight, right? We all know, what is it? Exercise, eat healthy, all those type of things. And we all know that. But a lot of people struggle with their weight from time to time. We have commitments, all this type of stuff. So it really comes down to, how do we actually practice what we say? And I think what you just said then is educating yourself in, not just educating, like not learning the knowledge, but actually put yourself in positions where you can actually practice those things. Where you can, if you want to share with people, man, or you want to talk to you don't have to talk to your close friends. And it might be really awkward talking to your closest friends about sensitive things. Go talk to a doctor. Go talk to someone that's actually, and they might put you in the right direction, or talk to, if you're having issues at work, maybe talk to the people at work and, hey, look, can we have a talk? Because now I know, at work, mental health is a big thing at the moment in the workforce, and they are taking it very serious. So if you're having stuff going on, just share with people that you don't have to talk to someone. You don't have to if you're struggling talking to your partner or your best friends and all that because you feel like they'll judge you. Don't feel like you have to do it straight off the bat. Take baby steps in that, and maybe talk to someone that can help you, like a doctor or someone that can make you. Or maybe you can just start doing it yourself. Whatever. Everyone's different, And I think that's the real trick in all this type of stuff. Is figuring out how we can actually put this stuff into practice and actually learn how we can do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just theories and do this, do that. It's about how you can actually go out and actually do it on a regular basis. And then, from that, it's like a snowball effect. It's little things become big accomplishments down the track.
Yeah, and we're generally the only place where we really learn is in our connection and dealing with other people. It's also from teachers. Can be now through AI. You can get some reflection and talking to yourself in the mirror. But generally, you only get to put it into practice when you're connecting with other people.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do when you talk about the soup kitchen, and you're opening the space where you make people feel light, you get them to joke a bit. And you're automatically, by doing that, creating this kind of safety field for them to start playing into that interaction. And if they can start to contribute into that and start to maybe they tell a little joke, even though they were scared to do it, but they feel safe with you, they're now practicing that. And they're slowly taking over this intelligence because the voice in their mind has been lowered. And so they're getting a bit of their power back in the moment. And when they see that or just experience that, it sticks with them. And then they might do it again later. And so ultimately, that's why I do think self-love and this feeling of worthiness, which when you're with that person and you're playing with them, you kind of give them access to that worthiness. Oh, this guy's talking to me. I feel something. I feel a connection. I feel worthy. And when people feel worthy, the fear of practicing, the fear of going out into social environments, the fear of all that starts to disappear. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the only power the fear has on us is that at some fundamental level, people with depression, and pretty much everybody deals with this, but people with depression at a higher level really feel not good enough and not worthy within themselves. And if we can just keep getting that message across, like, you are worthy, you are good enough, you were born here as a baby, like fresh from the stars, and everything that you've done wrong in your life that you think you've done wrong, you haven't done wrong. You've just done the best with the tools that you've been given, like with the life experience you've had and what you've learned. You picked up some ideas, you picked up some good ones, you picked up some bad ones, and you've gone through it. And now you're in this place of pain, and it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. You're just here in life, landed from the stars somewhere. Like, where the hell did we come from, right? We just landed here.
I think mum and
from
dad.
the big bang of mum and dad, right? Boom. Yeah, but seriously, like, we're here, and now we all of a sudden we're adults. I mean, who's really an adult? Yeah. We're just children in adult bodies trying to figure out, how the hell do I manage this life? And it's not always, like, it can be. For some people, it can be easy if they got good insights and good programmings and good ways of dealing with it. But for other people, they didn't get all those fundamental teachings. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of your journey and your process, and just begin to love your journey, your unique journey, your unique movie, your unique process. Wherever you are, it's valuable, and you're valuable. And that's what I'll say to you, and I'll say to the people, the audience, and I say it to myself. And, it's just the ultimate truth.
Love it, man. Love it. All right. Well, thank you, Sean, for sharing that. I really love what you're doing, what you're working towards, and all that type of stuff. So again, you got your film coming out at Nova on July
7th of July. Cinema Nova, 6:45 p.m.
Yep.
Seats are booking out fast. If you want to get a seat, get in quick. If you want a good seat, I don't know if there's any good seats left, but they're all good because you can see the screen.
It'll be a fun atmosphere, though.
It's going to be fun.
Cool. There'll be
Q&A,
Q&A
at the end, which is going to be fun. We may go out afterwards. Who knows? Who knows? Anything's possible, but it'll be a great night. The movie's great. You'll be one of the first to see it. And then also, just a reminder that the Cocoon, the book, is coming, and I'm very, very excited to share that with as many people as possible.
Awesome. And you got a website for the book, right?
Thecocoon.me. Thecocoon.me.
Okay. I thought you said not me. Okay, yeah.
Because the Cocoon is written for you.
Okay.
For you, which means when you're talking to yourself, it's me.
Okay.
Yeah. Thecocoon.me.
Yeah. So look, sounds like go to that website, keep in the loop. So when that book is ready.
And to book, you can go to book the film. You can go to the Cinema Nova website under the Melbourne Documentary Film Festival. Or if you want an easier way, from depressionwithlove.com. We'll take you to the booking site. And there's a trailer there that they can watch the film as well.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you, Sean. Lovely speaking to you.
Thanks for having me on Popcorn and Friends. I can't wait to be the first subscriber and to follow your journey. And you know what? Congratulations for doing it. You just did it, man.
Well,
whether you have 1 subscriber or 100.
To be fair, I came over for a coffee, and next minute I got these cameras in my face, these lights. I'm like, what the? Okay, so thank you for sending me on this journey, Sean.
Thank you for being here. You've done an amazing job. Amazing job. Everybody, round of applause.
Nice to meet you, John.
Thanks, Trav.
Take it easy, my friend. Yeah.
That's fun, right?
Good times that never end. Welcome to Popcorn and Friends.